Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's about 11 o'clock, first video of the week, trying to get back on my regularly scheduled program. I'm going to jump right into it as there is a lot of ground to cover for today to set us up for the week. And in regards to trading backdrop, we have the ongoing conflict with Iran. Nothing new there. We started bombing a little bit more heavily. It escalated over the weekend. That's created a little bit of a stir with oil. Surprisingly, not as much as I thought. I really did think oil prices, I thought oil prices would jump up a lot higher than this. Oil really just minimal compared to what I initially thought with the overall escalation. Furthermore, we had some earnings kickoff. Earnings season just began. D.R. Horton, the largest home builder, reported last night. We'll touch on that. We have Tesla tomorrow. We'll touch on that. But let's just jump into the market because it's been quite a stir for most. I will start off with oil because I mentioned that at the top. As you see here, oil took its plunge down. And now since the escalation has gone up, really not something you could trade on more of this is not much of a technical basis. I know people pointing to gaps and whatnot. This is all kind of news driven at the end of the day. If you're trading oil off technicals, I don't think you're going to do very well unless if you're a very quick, small, trader in the moment if you're using technicals. I'm still short oil. I'm going to short more today. For the record, I add every single day that it's up. I'm not in options for oil. I'm just shorting it. So I do pay a borrow rate, relatively small, whatever it is to borrow shares to short. That just means that you're paying a borrow rate, very standard when you're shorting stocks. I really don't care. I don't really care if oil goes up higher. I think it could. Historically, the summer months are always, forget the escalation aside, the summer months are always higher oil prices. I usually try to short oil towards the back end of the summer anyways. It's been historically what I try to do. Coupled with the conflict, I think we're going to get a little bit higher prices. I'm okay with that. I'm going to keep shorting. The inevitable Trump ceasefire tweet is coming at some point. He doesn't have the intestinal fortitude to see this thing through. I'm convinced of that. I don't think he does. I think this is an ongoing posturing that is ultimately going to lead to somebody bending. I don't think it's going to be us in the sense of the way we want to portray it, but ultimately not diving into politics. I just don't think Trump wants to see the 10-year Treasury continue to go up higher and higher. This is a bad sign. As you see, it's up a half a point today, which is terrible. For all you mortgage people and mortgage brokers that watch my videos, you know why that continues to correlate to higher interest rates. However, on a side note, the Fed has pumped in liquidity to the market, by the way. So you do have some liquidity that's being pumped into the market artificially at the moment. Here nor there. So I'm short oil. That's all you need to know. I'm going to jump into Bitcoin because I did make a trade on Bitcoin. So I think the bottom is in. I'm going to go on record. I said it to everybody over the weekend. I think it was on Friday. I have doubled my weekly buys. I have bought IBIT calls for March of next year with a 40 strike price. I did that yesterday. IBIT is up. I'm actually up on these calls already, like 10%. So I bought IBIT 40 strike next year, March. I want to say they were under $500 a call. Relatively cheap, high reward, low risk, in my opinion. I think we've seen capitulation here with Bitcoin. I added to BTCI. I added those calls and I have doubled my weekly buys. The trade is in. I'm going to go on record. I have flipped now to bullish on Bitcoin. I started that on Friday. So far it's working out, but this is just the beginning of the move. I'll advise when it's not there, but I have now flipped and I'm deploying capital into Bitcoin. I am making a substantial deployment and I have done so and I will continue to do so. I think Bitcoin I'm going to go on record and say we will see this number hit $100,000 again and probably sooner than you think. This is not financial advice, but rather for educational purposes. Now let's go into the Nasdaq, which is the most important index. All right, so big picture, we had this move up. We had a chop down, move up, chop. Very standard when you zoom out, not in the short term, but in the long term, this is very standard stuff. This is nothing to go absolutely crazy about for all of those individuals that are, you're like 5% off the high and you're losing your mind. Oh, geez, Louise, you definitely don't have the stomach for this if that's the case. Any case, today up 1.5 points. Is it short covering? Yeah, I'm sure there's some short covering involved. The bears have had their way for the last 2 weeks. I'd love to see above these averages. I'm on yellow at the moment. I'm not green. I will not go green until we get above here. That is my activated trigger point to go back to green. And green for me means deploying more capital and having larger positions that I size up. Right now, every position I'm taking is a smaller than I normally take, only because risk management is the front and center of my mind during these times of corrections. I'm in it for long term. I'm not looking to make homers and triples right out the gate. I try to hit singles and doubles all the time. So I'm not interested in trying to size up during a choppy trend. Overall, this doesn't look terrible to me. For those of you that are doomsday people, yeah, I mean, a lower low below here would be a time of caution, because any lower low is something that would concern me. But with that said, I'm on yellow. I think everything is okay, guys. So just don't flip out. All right, now we can get to stocks, because that's what we want to trade. Let's go into DR Horton, only because I mentioned that at the top. I don't own DR Horton. I don't really so much care about it, but this is this is the ugliest chart known to man. This is only because they had a good earnings beat and the stock is down. Kind of the way the market's going. It's kind of hard for home builders and anything correlated to real estate to really thrive. This market is not conducive, got higher interest rates, just not good. So you see DR Horton taking a bit of a beating. Interesting, as I like to observe the earnings for home builders, because it is a direct correlation to the economy and how we're moving. All right. I'm going to start with memory. And again, guys, I mentioned last week to everybody to calm their titties here. Can I say that? I don't think I should say that. Sorry, let me retract that statement. Everybody to calm down. This is, again, Micron, big picture, up, back, up, back, up, back. This is very common stuff, guys. So when you're flipping out and losing your mind, sometimes the best thing to do is not to trade. There's no need to rush in, fools rush in. So there is a perspective that you let the trade come to you. But also at the same time, when you become overly negative because a stock corrects 30%, these are high growth names. They're going to do that from time to time. This will happen again. I mean, I'm just being honest. So what we looked for, and I mentioned it to a bunch of friends of mine, I wanted to get above the Friday high for you to activate a new trade. I'm still in my trade. I haven't sold shares. I'm now back over. I mentioned it last week on Friday. I was down 10%. I'm now back in the green on this trade. I think Micron is going to do well. Again, I talk about December 6th is the first day that they're able to buy back their shares. If you look at historically any particular company, Apple, Qualcomm, Oracle, over the course of time, when they're able to buy back their shares, that's when the stock starts to move upwards. They deploy that strategy. Look at Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett with all the companies he owns. December 6th, they're able to do that. They could announce that on their next earnings that they're going to do that. The stock will just fly. Anyways, I'm long Micron. Do what you want to do. I do know two people that I have text this morning. They activated it. I told them I would not buy for a new trade until above Friday's high. It is above Friday's high. That's an activated trigger. Everybody calm down. I think Micron's going to be perfectly fine. Some people like to overreact. SanDisk, similar profile. The only thing is SanDisk has earnings coming up in about a week or two, so you have to be aware of that. However, as well, above Friday's high, I like that. I think the selling has started to, I think it's dissipated. I think selling is dissipated, and we're going to wait and see. I own SanDisk, not a very large position. I'm now maybe down or maybe even on this trade, not a very large position relative for me, keeping it small. Once I see above here, I think it's right above right above that point, and it fills this gap here, that's when I will then deploy more capital, and this will become a full position for me. All right, Penguin has been a frustrating one for me. I'm going to go into that. So we had the Darvis box trade. We had the breakout with earnings. It failed, which you never want to see a failed breakout, and then just a waterfall of 4 days of just complete selling pressure. So all my shares that I bought after earnings all got stopped out. I'm out. I still have my original shares, which I cut smaller to earnings. I'm still in those. Admittedly, below yesterday's low, I'm going to be completely out of this trade, and I will completely go out of it. Fortunately, I mitigated the risk quite a bit with this, and I also sold some covered calls. So it worked out relatively well. It didn't work out. This doesn't work out, but the damage could have been a lot worse. What I would say for those of you, because I probably get the most questions about Pinguino, it's very simplistic. If it goes below yesterday's low of $52, you need to cut it and get out of the trade. Take whatever loss you have. Whether if you bought with me, it shouldn't be much of a loss. We bought back here. So if you're selling here and you bought in the 40s, you're fine. You only made 10, 15%, whatever. Cut the trade, get out of it, and wait for it to show that it can do it again before you get back in it. If it doesn't get below that low, you're fine. I mean, I would say for those of you that want to add, you're not going to be able to add till above here. You need to get probably above last week's high on Wednesday, which is probably here before you can add shares. This company has great fundamentals. Hard to argue that, but you never want to argue that the price is what pays and price is the most important. So share price is always front and center. I think on memory, I'm done with memory. Okay, let's move along here because I don't want a 30-minute video here. Tesla, I'm going to go into this. I still own it. I'm going to own it tomorrow going into earnings. This looks terrible. The only reason I'm holding this is probably just because of the autonomous driving, the new releases, the innovation. And so I think their earnings are going to be okay. Admittedly, this is not a huge position for me. I'm okay holding this. And no advisory to buy, pointing it out. It's up 3.5%. Whatever. This looks terrible, but you know what? I have faith in this. I think Tesla is going to go above 420. So for those of you that want to buy this, I'm not advising this. If you believe in Tesla, and I know a lot of you do, great. Earnings tomorrow. Do what you need to do. Okay. Let's keep it moving. We got some ground to cover. Let's jump to biotech real quickly. TGTX still holding this. Looks fine. Everybody's freaking out. Jesus. Still holding that. IMNM still holding that. I think this looks good. This is becoming this is pinching up in a diamond pattern. I think that looks fantastic. Still holding that. And then Liquidia. I think, honestly, I think I'm going to end up exiting Liquidia. It looks good. I think I'm going to cut this position in half. This was a relatively large position for me. I'm up now over 20%. This is just slow and boring for me. I think it's going to break out above here, so I'm going to leave half the position, but I'm going to cut this in half. This was a very large position for me, larger than I would have liked. This is a profitable biotech, so in any case, I'm not saying for those of you that own it to sell it. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do just because it was an extremely large position for me. And I'm up over 25%. And at this point, I need to be cautionary and also preserve some capital for other areas that I want to deploy into. Moving real quickly to software. The software name that I do like is going to be Intuit. I bought this in my IRA, and I think I'm going to add to it. They got downgraded today, I think, and then their price equal 34. And then they didn't get slammed. And I think they've stopped going down on bad news. And usually when stocks going down on bad news, this is not a trade for me. This is simply going to be more deployment in my IRA. I think the risk return, this is a stock that was, again, I've mentioned this, probably over $800, $900 down to $291. Doesn't mean it's going to return to its past glory. I think this is good for $350, $400 by next year. So I'm going to add some more to it in my IRA, just pointing it out. AMD has held up exceptional, probably held up better than most, above all the averages now. I mean, this is starting to look like a trade again for me. I don't own it, but I want to see a couple more days of it showing it, improving it to me, and then I'll jump back in this. I'd love to see it break out to an all-time high, which I think is a possibility. Earnings on the horizon in 2 weeks. Dell, probably my favorite. I hate saying my favorite chart because I said that last time, didn't work out. Dell looks great. Throughout the carnage of what's happened, Dell has held up fantastic. I own this. I own a pretty good sized position in this one. Probably one of my largest holdings at the moment relative to where I like to be at. Dell looks really good. If I'm going to say a stock that looks the best right now in the market to buy, not financial advice, educational purposes, this looks pretty good. With that, I'm going to go to pivot to Intel. All right, so Intel, I got stopped out last week, and I really didn't like that I got stopped out. So I bought some long-dated calls yesterday. I'm more than anything, I guess I'm just a product of luck. It's up 7%. I don't own shares. I own long-dated calls, and I did them out till the beginning of next year. So here's the thing. Their earnings are on Thursday. The United States government has a stake on them. I'm going to ride these calls out. I think they're till February or March of next year. They were actually relatively inexpensive, to be honest with you. So not a huge position, but I did buy some calls. I think Intel's going to do well on earnings. I really believe that. I'm not going to sell those calls. Yeah. Okay. I think that's all I got for you. Yeah, that looks like all I own. Obviously, I'm cautionary with the way the market's moving. I want to get some confirmation on some things. My Bitcoin deployment is pretty substantial in size, so I am betting on that. You know, as a closing out statement, I would say that obviously be cautionary. I mean, look at the SanDisk up almost 12% today. You know, cautionary as with the conflict. I think you're going to get periods of situations like this where you're going to get some, I think, a little bit of short covering. I'm not saying that specifically. By the leaders of the market, new leaders will appear, and those new leaders are the ones you want to buy. Everybody calm down. I mean, if you can't stomach some retracement, and then you're not meant for this. And then maybe sit back, just invest, because this is not for the weak. And the market will always humble you. It's humbled me millions of times. It will always humble us. Just take the time, be patient, and try to educate yourself and journal your trades so that if you did make a mistake, you don't make that mistake again. All right, I think that's all I got for you. I'll be back later in the week. I hope you guys have a great trading session today. All right, take care.